So tell us about you. Tell us about your work and how Ming fits into it. Just give us an overview.
So an overview is,
Oh,
he's one of my louder chatty birds. So overview is I've been a wild bird rehabilitator as a volunteer, because wildlife rehabbers we're all volunteers. So and I've done this for about 18, going on 19 years. Ming, hey, knock it off, buddy. And so I have 5 permits to work with wild birds. Some of them are from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, because all of these birds are federally protected. I should say virtually all birds in the wild are federally protected, and also, of course, protected in every state. And it's been that way for 105 some years. And wild birds are protected by the same similar treaties across the world, with the exception of a couple kind of rogue countries. And also with the exception of hunting season for game birds. So I volunteer as a wild bird rehabber because I love birds. And I've done this for, like I said, almost 19 years. I couldn't take in as many birds as I wanted when I started, because my kids were here and I was working full time. The last 4.5 years have been beautiful in bird world, because I retired from the post office. Had a lot more time, obviously, and so pretty much this is what I do. I usually take in 300 birds a year. Right now I'm about up to 200 just for this year alone. Wild birds that are orphaned or are injured. But the last 2 years, the last 2 COVID years, I took in around 500 wild birds, and
wow.
and that was true kind of across the country, that wildlife rehabbers, whether they did squirrels or birds, were getting insane numbers of calls and incoming animals. And there's no one knows exactly why, but it probably has a lot to do with people being at home, people trying to get outside, do something, feel productive, take up birding as a hobby, or so there are a lot more eyes out in the woods, out in the mountains, out on the trails. So a lot more animals actually got the help they needed. So that's what I've been doing. And some of my permits, these birds like Ming, and I have 20 birds like Ming that are raptors. So they're hawks, owls, or falcons, and they're all handicapped or disabled in one way or another, which would prevent them from surviving in the wild, as far as I can figure, and with the approval of U.S. Fish and Wildlife and my veterinarian. So Ming here is a peregrine falcon. He's 5 years old, and I got him as a teenager, basically, because he hit a truck. The reason he was unreleasable is because his right eye is actually completely blind. So he looks good, but he one-eyed, fastest thing on the planet. These guys go over 200 miles an hour when they dive to catch their dinner. So you can't release a one-eyed fastest thing on the planet, because it would miss its target. And actually, he could easily be taken out by another peregrine or an eagle or an osprey or a car. So I kind of lucked out. I prefer to release him, but that's why I have, like I said, 20 education birds.
And you keep each individual bird in its own shed, right? Its own space.
Basically somewhat upscale sheds. That's really a good term for them, although they cost. Most of them I had to have custom built, because I'm not a builder, and I know I designed the buildings, the fancy sheds, but according to the species and Fish and Wildlife kind of rules and guidelines, like there has to be a certain amount of square footage for each species. There's actually books on this stuff. There, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just following the state and federal guidelines and suggestions from falconers who've done this for hundreds of years, right? So they, like Ming's building, it cost about $5,000, but since then I've had to have other buildings custom built to more like $7,000 to $9,000 each, and all of that has come from people donating to my wild bird rehab work or paid programs that I do with my education birds. I don't, I keep fuzzy math on this stuff because, you know,
Got it.
we can't dig in our retirement. And I only take in what I can work with myself personally, because it's on our private property. So I have 12 different buildings out there for all the birds.
And what does Ming eat?
You want to know what Mang eats? So I should have brought his lunch. He was actually hungry. They hunt birds. That's their main thing. Like sometimes they'll catch a rodent, but he's quite picky. He only eats quail. So I buy frozen quail and frozen mice for everybody else. And then I have a dedicated freezer, dedicated refrigerator. I thaw these things out the night before. So he gets 1 or 2 quail a day, depending on how big they are. They have fancy diet, right, buddy?
Wow. Ming is a gourmand.
Yeah, I've tried other food, but you know, quail are expensive. They're even frozen
I
quail.
can imagine.
They're like $3 a piece. So,
He likes that.
and he's actually a little bit, you know, he's a little bit wasteful. A wild peregrine wouldn't leave anything behind. If you watch YouTube videos of wild peregrines, and there's a lot of footage of these birds. They eat everything, including the legs of the quail, the head, the whole thing. The only thing they don't eat usually is they pull the feathers off. It's a funny little habit they have. Is most peregrines will pluck feathers, but eat absolutely everything else. But Meng, no, he's special, you know.
So perhaps, Jacob, we could take a look at the video of the fledglings, which are probably about the size of a quail, the fledglings that Annie was feeding just yesterday with a syringe.
I'm gonna tether Meng here so he can watch.
Okay, great. This is a teenage red-tailed hawk, and you're about to hear a really amazing sound come out of this little bird wanting to be fed. Turn up your volume if you can.
Oh, there we go.
Got one more.
There you go.
Thanks, Jacob. Thank you.
And here's a different little red-tailed hawk. Actually, it's a broadwing hawk. Sorry, this is looks similar, but this one I took in a couple days ago. Oh, how is it coming through?
Oh, little fella.
They don't get a whole lot bigger, but this one is what we call pre-fledged. It's not even old enough to really be a fledgling. And the reason I have this guy is because there's something up with this wing. This is a wild bird, so this is not a bird that's like happy to have me mess with it. But if you can see this wing, it doesn't open quite normally. So I think I'm guessing that there was either a congenital issue with this joint in its wing, or when it fell out of the nest a little too early and possibly fractured that little joint. And I don't see anything I can fix. So I don't know if this bird's going to be able to fly or not when it gets a little bit bigger. It certainly will grow. I mean, the feathers are going to come in, and it's going to grow, another few inches. And
I have to say, from here, it looks so vulnerable.
It's a sad little thing. I mean, it doesn't know that there's an audience here, but I'm trying to show you. Come on, show them how you eat. I know it's hungry. Actually, this guy, just ignore that. Those are mouse parts, right?
Okay, yum.
This guy's been really good about eating on his own. So I cut up. Take a look at this. So I cut up.
Oh, yummy! Salad.
I spend a lot of time cutting up, thawed mice, and then I hand feed pieces of the mice, including the bones, to these little guys until they learn to pick up the food by themselves. And then we graduate to like the whole mouse. And once they're actually eating sufficiently on their own, and I don't need to give them medications for anything, I put them out in one of my flight buildings where I can, hopefully they can grow and keep eating and exercise and get real strong. This one, I just don't know. I just got him. I just don't know if that wing is going to be functional. And broadwing hawks have to migrate all the way down to Central and South America, you know, so
Oh.
they're one of the first species to disappear in, you know, September often.
Mhm,
And then
mhm.
one of the last ones to come back north. So that's 2,000 to 3,000 miles, and that's a lot of flying. Any little disability like this means this bird probably would not make it and would probably die on the way down.
And how did he come to you, Annie?
This one came from actually the IBM plant in Southern Dutchess County, which has like this huge, that's like 6 square miles of I don't know what all, but they have you know, grounds people of all sorts, and the couple of the groundskeepers saw this little dude under a big white pine. The parents were up above, you could hear
Mhm.
them like doing that a louder cry, trying to motivate this junior here to fly up onto branches, or they can actually kind of rock climb up tree trunks to lower branches to get to a safer place when they can't fly yet, if that makes sense. Like they can kind of maneuver themselves between their talons with their feet.
Well, yes.
Yeah. So they
Yes.
can, owls and hawks can get themselves off the ground when they're still teenagers before they can fly to get to a little safer place so coyotes and such don't get them. But this little guy was not moving, could not do anything but run. So something, it's that wing, and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
infected, just you know, TBD. I'm not sure what we're going to end up doing with this guy, but I would keep him as an education bird if need be. There's room at the inn in the Broadwing Hawk suite. There's I have one, but there's room for one.
Uh-huh. Well, I know we have a lot of vets in the area, but are there multiple people who know how to treat wild birds?
I would say
Veterinarians?
no. I mean, my experience up here is that well, most vets are, there's probably vets in this gathering, but most vets are taught about dogs and cats because that's
Right.
where the money is, obviously, and that's what
Right.
most people have. Some have a little more experience with exotics because they like them. So, but very few specialize in birds. I'm in Ulster County. I go down to Orange County to a veterinarian who is really very knowledgeable about birds, you know, from parrots to these things, and also donate their services to me. So
How nice.
so I mean, I spend a lot of money buying the basics to be a bird nurse. So all the food, the mice, the quail, the live mealworms, the you know, the bedding, the buildings, and all that sort of thing, the gas. But they donate X-rays, surgery, blood work, medications, and also humane euthanasia, which is incredibly expensive for
I
a
can
large
imagine.
bird. I mean, you know, last time I paid to have a Canada goose euthanized was at a different vet up here, and it was this is years ago now, and it was something like $90, which I did not have. I mean, I paid it, but that was you know, that was a point at which I either continued doing rehab or I and found a vet that would donate services, or I stopped, because financially, if you're living on the edge at all, or you don't own your own property, so you can, you know, do what you need to do with these wild ones, you really can't do rehab very long.
I can see
It's
that.
expensive. It's too expensive, and you know, there are ways. We can get into it if you want. I mean, there are legal ways that I can euthanize, you know, a bird like this, for example. But I don't have I'm not a vet. I don't have the controlled chemicals, medical, you know, chemicals that veterinarians have to really just put these guys to sleep like they would with a dog or cat. But the biggest thing is, honestly, when I love going down to my vet with a truckload, I literally have a truck, and I literally load it up sometimes with these birds that are in the gray zone where you know, I've had them for months. They're, you know, I'm not sure if they're releasable or not. I just need someone else's expertise and opinion, and that's where Dr. D is my go-to guy. So I'll go down there and we'll face off and discuss and argue about, you know, like this little dude, let's say in a few months, like, are you going to South America, or are you going to be one of my education?
I think he's awfully cute. Whatever he does, he's a lucky guy that he's being taken care of by you.
This guy will be okay, or girl. This one will not be euthanized, but you know, it's sad to keep a wild bird in captivity, especially for me. These wild raptors, they're just so magnificent and interesting, and, you know, important, an important piece of the environment.
Of course. So but Jacob says he has a video ready to roll to show the feeding of these fledglings, the grackles.
Ah,
He just fed yesterday with syringe. So
right.
Jacob, let's see what they look
I'm gonna
like.
switch out here. Cute. It's cute until it gets like, you know, not so cute after like,
Oh, yeah. What the,
it's, you know, that the nice, so the nice thing about these little birds, here's a little one.
what is that?
This is actually a red-winged blackbird. It's a flight.
Oh,
Try to get the camera here.
oh,
It's not a grackle, but it's, you know, kind of loud like them. This is what they look like, red-winged blackbirds when they're little ones,
oh, wow.
right?
Interesting. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a male or female yet because it's just too little, but you want to see. So here's some wild bird food. This is special insectivore formula that I mix with water or Pedialyte.
Hmm.
This is my 1 cc syringe, no needle, of course.
Right.
These little guys, they get a lot of this, and then I also, depends on the species, but I also feed them, oh, let's look, pinky mice, yum.
Yeah, not so yum.
You get
Oh, yum. Actually.
tiny bit, tiny bit big,
Wow.
but there we go, right? The grackles are downing these pinkies like you wouldn't believe.
I can't believe that little bird got that whole thing in its mouth. Wow.
That buys me a little time before the next feeding because it fills them up.
Well,
So,
so
you know, I use
so
a lot of mealworms and what? Look at this. He swallowed it and look at mouth open still.
now that's a satisfied little guy or girl. Cute. Very cute.
Let me show you. I can get a couple of these guys out just for a second. You know, it's cute.
Ooh, what do you have?
You can see these, right?
Yes, but oh.
No worries. The door is closed.
What is it?
It's, let me back up here. It's a bluebird.
Would never have guessed that. Oh, now, yes. Oh, yes.
And its sibling is flying around over our head. And you know what, Ming, leave it alone.
Oh,
If you play another video, I'm
yeah,
gonna,
Ming. Oh, sure. I'll play another video if you want us to. We will. Jacob, any one of your choosing. Oh, these are ducklings doing what ducklings do.
oh,
Yeah. You have a whole habitat for the ducklings with a spa.
yeah, they're special because they really have to feel like they're in a crowd.
Oh,
So there's mirrors,
yes, I see the mirror.
there's feather dusters, there's
Little pieces of tin foil.
um,
That's what it looked like.
oh, there's balls of tinfoil.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's kind of a poultry timer trick. Like, oh, man, you're so noisy. I have to take it away because I don't want him messing with that little bluebird. The little balls of tinfoil are
Yes.
useful when you have ducklings or baby chicks,
Uh-huh.
and they need to if they don't have an adult, they're showing them what to peck at, what to eat. The ducklings and chicks and those little wild ones too will peck at the shiny thing, and usually accidentally find a mealworm or a piece of crumble, poultry crumble that they're like, hey, you're really being something showing off here. Would you like to see a screech owl? How about that?
Absolutely. Of course.
This is the other,
We love owls.
yeah, people do, it's funny, it's like,
Owls are like spirit animals, you know?
for a lot of people, I love owls too, but,
Oh,
generally, I just love raptors more, raptors are just easier to feed, like you only have to feed them every couple hours. These guys, they're called passerines, all these songbirds. Every 30 minutes, dawn to dusk, you pretty much have to feed those guys. This little screech, she's watching
I see that. Her eyes are on the bluebird.
It's not happening. Don't even think about it. I mean, out in the real world, yeah, this one would be totally on that bluebird. And these guys don't see each other normally because I keep the birds that are in rehab, other than like today, right now, are
Right.
completely separate from my education birds. And every species of my ed birds, like the peregrine and this guy, they live in different buildings. So they only see each other. These ed birds only see each other when I do a program like this or out in public or for school or something. And me and my volunteers have gotten real good at setting up a program, a display where the little owls can see the big ones, but the big ones can't see them, or we body block them, so we don't want them to
He just
stress
looks
each
like
other
a,
out.
he's just like a round ball of something delicious to feel. He's beautiful. But I can see that one eye is different than the other.
Yeah, so that's, I have 5 screech owls, and they all have eye damage of one sort or another. One of my screech owls only has one eye. The damaged eye ended up being taken out by my vet because it kept getting, I mean, I know it couldn't release it, but we were trying to just quiet that eye down with antibiotics and pain meds, but it just over several months, it kept getting infected. It clearly was painful to the owl. So Dr. D did surgery, took it out, and sewed the eyelid shut. And that's Rufus. He's out in the building right now. He's been just fine all these years. But yeah, you can see that. You can see this one, especially which side are you on? But that one pupil is fully dilated, and that's because when they hit cars, they generally hit with their heads. I'd say about half the time, more than half the time, if they live overnight, then they probably will be releasable. Probably 65% of the raptors that I get that hit cars come in with head trauma, so brain swelling, eye damage. That's not the worst. What's worse is if they also broke a bone, like broke a wing or broke a leg. Those are difficult things to repair successfully, because these raptors have to be, really, they have to be 100%, 99% maybe before I release them, or they're going to starve to death. That's really what the bottom line is. So, there's no, we in the bird rehab world don't have permits to actually track these guys, like even put leg bands on them. I could, there's a whole nother permit. I could apply to do that. It's really a pain in the badukas. And so, and another report, that would be my 6th annual report. And, but we don't have like funding from state or federal government to like buy these tiny weeny little tracking devices so we can see, did that owl actually survive the winter, or did that broadwing hawk actually make it to South America and make it back? We don't have the funding to do that sort of thing. So there's a big, prayer and, special dance when we release these birds, and just, use our best knowledge, talk to other people who know more than I do, or may have a different perspective on who's releasable and who's not, like my vet, Dr. D. But we don't know, but these guys with these serious eye damage, as you can see here, I just wouldn't do that. It would be just cruel. This bird would not survive, I don't know, probably more than a couple of weeks.
Well, when you start your day at 4:30 in the morning, how long does it take you to do the first round of feedings for all of your birds?
This time of year? Oh,
yeah. Well, I know you have a lot of nestlings because I've seen them on your Facebook page.
Yeah, I have about 20. You know what? That bluebird is going to sleep really well. I mean, actually, the 2 bluebirds I show you, I actually have them out in my flight building. Anyhow, so he's kind of showing off by, so I have about 25 birds in rehab right now. About half of them are raptors, and the other half are these, small songbirds. I forget what your question was. How long does it take me? So, well,
yes.
First, I deny the fact that the sun is coming up for about 15 minutes, and then I have to get a cup of coffee. I'm sorry, I have to. And then I feed the 4 dogs because they are annoying. You know how that is, right?
Yes, I do.
And then I a get together. You want to know, then I get together like the food that I'm going to put out for the fresh food that I put out for my canaries. I don't feed them yet. I just get it organized. Then I start feeding the wild ones. And the first ones I feed are the baby birds, the songbirds. They're really hungry. You know, they lasted
Mhm.
what, 8 or 9 hours with no food, which is normal, but I feel bad for them. So they get a quick feeding first, and then I go on to the other older birds like that, the broadwing hawk that you saw. I just put a plate of food in front of him, and a couple of the raptors I have to hand feed because they're too sick or disabled still. And then the last ones to get fed are birds like this, my education birds, because they're perfectly healthy. They're all fat, and seriously, they can wait. But it takes me about, let's say, about an hour. If I don't get interrupted by phone calls, or text messages, and I do get people contacting me that early, you know.
Mhm.
They find an owl in the road the night before, or anyhow, it takes me about an hour first thing in the morning, and then another hour at night to kind of go through the whole routine again, except for the coffee.
Except for the coffee. Tell you what, let's look at a video of what it's like for you to release a bird. Jacob, pick any ones that you like.
All right.
Let's look at a release because it's exciting. This is goldfinch.
That is a goldfinch.
Yeah. How about another, Jacob? Is this the Juvie barn swallow?
That is
think-
barn swallow. From
Yeah.
last summer.
Juvie barn swallow. Pretty tail.
That one, I think that was one that came all the way from either Brooklyn or
Wow.
someplace down in the city, down where you are. These people, a lovely couple, found that bird. It wasn't Central Park, but, you know, I don't know the parks down there. Found that bird on the ground. Lots of all sorts of dogs and kids and such. And there were other swallows, but this one was like on the ground and loaded with mites, which is
Oh.
enough to make a young bird that's having trouble. That's enough to make it die, you know, or make it easy pickings for some other for a raptor or for a dog or a coyote, whatever. But they had it for a few days. They got rid of the mites themselves. They hand fed it, and then they brought it up to me. They contacted me and asked if I would, you know, finish the job rehabbing it. And it was lovely. I didn't have to wait that long. It was a teenager. It was a big
Mhm.
older bird anyhow. But and the nice thing is that one of my favorite places to walk around here is a rail trail where there's a whole colony of barn swallows and also tree swallows like under that overpass.
Mhm.
About 40 or 50. So I didn't release it with its original family. It really wasn't necessary. The second it heard and saw, you know, its own kind flying around, off it went.
How exciting for
Really
you
exciting.
too. Yeah. And who are you holding now?
What I'm holding here is this is a young barred owl.
Oh.
Barred.
Beautiful.
So it's not so fuzzy, but so this bird is very fuzzy. It's still like 50% fluff,
Uh-huh.
and feathers are just starting to come in. It's a really late season barred owl too. I have a couple other juvenile barred owls that were orphaned or injured. They're out in one of my flight buildings, and they're like 3 times the size of this one right now. So
Oh.
it's not, you know, impossible. It's obviously, but this is a pretty late season little owl. And you see, this one I got because, why did I get you? Let me remember here. Oh, it was just a couple days ago. Down in New Paltz, a friend was driving home on 208, a pretty busy road around here,
Mhm.
and took a turn onto her road in Gardner and found this little dude smack in the middle of the road with cars, you know, going around, going over. Like it's kind of, you know, I never know how many cars go past a baby, clearly a baby bird like this that's in danger or injured. I have nightmares like that. Like how long did it take until this one
Mhm.
person who actually is a bird watcher and a photographer, you know, and a teacher. She stopped, but who knows how many went past this one.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I think it's too young to be on the ground. It's not even a brancher. Remember what I said about how young raptors, when they're old enough, can use their little feet and
Hmm.
their beginning of their wings to kind of climb up a tree trunk. This one isn't, and then they sit on a branch, so they're called branchers. This one's not even old enough to do that. So it's possible it got blown out of the trees, out of the nest, because we had some pretty serious wind, like 2 days of wind,
Hmm. Hmm.
seriously gusty winds. And I got
This weekend, it was windy.
a bunches of calls from people about all sorts of young birds or nests on the ground.
Mhm.
The reason I'm going to keep him for now is because he's also just developmentally just too young, and it's surprising that it's not bigger, it's not older.
Mhm.
You can see, I don't know if you can see, its eyes are kind of milky looking.
Yes, yes.
That's actually normal. That's not a abnormality, but this is how owl eyes develop. They take a long time. They take a couple of months. Their little heads, their craniums here are mostly full of optical nerves,
Uh-huh.
you know, which take a long time to develop, and these guys really can't see much of anything. They can hear very well. You know, you want to see an owl ear?
Yeah, I do. I was going to ask you, where are they?
Oh, can you see it?
Not really.
It's hard. Come here. When they have like what seem to be like enormous ear holes. Come on, you show me your ear. It's hard to show. It's, I don't know if you can kind of see that.
Well, now at least I
All
know
you
where
see is
it
the
what it was.
eye.
Oh, there it is.
All you see is the eye, really, but the right here,
Okay.
like behind and a little
Uh-huh.
more in their eye, just like ours, are their ear holes. They're like
Mhm.
big openings. They're covered by fluff when they're little, but one of the reasons these guys get in trouble is because when warm weather hits and the flies and bugs are abundant, flies will often, do you want to know this? It's kind of gross. They lay their eggs in their ears,
Oh.
and then that can cause not just deafness and pain, but also brain damage. So whenever I get these little guys in, I always, you know, my routine exam is to, you know, figure out what's wrong with them, but always check their ear holes, their ear canals, because I can get rid of those maggots and usually save the bird. But anyhow, he's fine. But
Normally, how many siblings would this owl have had, if any?
1 to 2 would be normal.
Mhm.
Yeah. And they don't all survive, even so. What are you're looking at those baby birds over there, aren't you?
Half the birds in your room think you have dinner everywhere.
Well, I did bring dinner with them. Well, yeah, half of them would eat the other half. That is a fact out in the wild. Do you want some food?
Oh, yum.
Yum, yum.
Wow. He's a good eater, he or she.
Yeah, I don't know yet. Yeah. So this is
Oh.
another one that it's just too young to predict you know,
Oh.
how soon it will be releasable. I'm hoping it will be. I don't see anything broken. These floppy wings are normal for baby owls. That, you know, their feathers have to grow out, and their muscles have to grow, and they have to lose all that fuzz.
He is just beautiful.
But they stay, you know, they stay with their parents all summer, generally speaking, and then usually come like end of September. That's when people start calling me or sending me photographs of you know, a random hawk owl on their deck crying, making that cry that red-tailed hawk is
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
like, but really loud and like for hours and hours and hours, because they're hungry, and the parents are in the tough love stage come fall, late fall. So in those situations, I ask for a photograph or a video, but I can kind of guess to see if there's anything obviously wrong with the bird. But 9 times out of 10, it's just a young raptor that's hungry, and its parents are kind of moving on and ignoring it because the bird has to start hunting.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell people to walk real slowly towards the hawk or the owl and tell me what it does, and 9 times out of 10 it flies off.
Oh.
Thank God.
I love that speech. I also love the sound of a barred owl. They're
You
really
guys-
special.
You hear the beak clicking too?
I do.
Yeah, all owls do that, and it's not something you would normally hear except if you were close like this. And it's kind of a warning, like a dog growling,
Yeah.
like, you know, and just a vocalization that tells you that you are too close. I don't like what you're doing. I'm cornered. I can't get away from you, or something like that. So it's kind of a cool thing. They do that with their beaks, and it
Mhm.
doesn't scare me at all, buddy. I am not scared of beak clicking.
He actually looks like a little old man. He's really very cute.
This is a very cute owl. I mean, this is another one that I don't really, I have 3 education barred owls. They each get like 2 to 3 mice a day, which doesn't
Mhm.
sound like much, but the price of frozen mice, probably because of COVID, who knows, jumped from like 45 cents to 57 cents just this spring.
Mhm.
So, and I go through 50 to 100 frozen mice a day.
A day.
You know,
Wow.
depending on how many of these guys I have. So feeding 3 barred owls year after year, you know, it's an expense, and to raise one of these guys, let's say this guy raises up fine and is ready for release.
Mhm.
At the end, it will still probably cost me about $500 if I, you know, but like I said, I use fuzzy math because. But yeah, that was a shock to see that the cost of mice, just like for no reason anyone
Wow.
could figure out, suddenly jumped like the price of gas, but no explanation. Hey, Ming, stop it. Ming wants to be back out.
I don't blame him. Let's look at another release, Jacob, either the hawk or the crow. What do you say? Please. That's the crow.
That was a nice release. That was
Yeah, look at him go.
happy for that guy.
Yes.
And wouldn't you know, I
Gone.
have a baby crow to show you.
Oh, you do? How about that?
It's not I get one.
Oh,
No, no.
oh.
You know what happens? This is what I call hangry.
Hangry. Sorry.
Yeah, this guy came in last night actually, I think. Was it last night? Last night. And you know what, dude? That's all I got. Everybody else ate everything. Clean your face here, baby. So this guy came in last night because some people that live down in Cohonson, you know, about 25 minutes away, have cows and horses, and they were out in their pasture
Mhm.
doing something or other, and they heard this little dude on the ground, not flying away. He can fly. He should be able to fly, right? No parents around. Usually crows are really aware of their kids and where they are, and you know, the crows will dive bomb you to get you to get away from their babies.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, I mean, they're not going to hurt you, but they can definitely scare you
Right.
and make a lot of noise. And there were what they told me is that there were no other crows, like juniors or adults, anywhere in the area.
Is that Ming trying to get out?
Yeah, he doesn't. He likes to be, you know.
He wants to be on camera. He's a showman.
But this one also has. There's a possibility this guy has something going on. Which wing is it? It's really hard to tell when I'm like not in the right position here. I think it's this wing. There's something not quite right. It also has a little dot under its eye.
Yeah.
So literally, see that?
Yes. Yeah.
And that could be nothing, or it could be something more serious like avian pox, which is not a good thing. So,
No.
but it's out there. It's not something people catch, and it's you know, other than this, he's actually isolated from everybody else just for now, and I'm giving him antiviral and antibiotics and a pain med, because yeah, this is the wing that's not opening up quite right. So something might be up
Mhm.
that kind of its elbow. But
Oh.
I can usually see or feel a fracture in their wings or definitely in their legs or even in their chest. There's a corticoid bone here, a breastbone, which birds will often hurt if they hit something. And that would be enough to keep them grounded. But I'm not 100% sure what's up with this guy yet. Why his parents were not there. I mean, he might have been left. The family might have moved on, and
Mhm.
maybe this was just the youngest one and could not keep up. Oh, you see those blue eyes too?
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
that's typical of corvids, of ravens and crows and grackles and some other birds that are young. You can tell like at a glance that if all you saw with the eyes, you'd know that this was a baby from those blue eyes. Little by little, they turn dark.
How old do you think he is, or how young?
Possibly a month.
Wow.
You know,
Wow. That's a
ravens
lot of,
have their kids a lot earlier. Like ravens now are most of the babies are already full-fledged and flying with their parents. These guys, crows, are later nest a little bit later. So right now there's I've seen like the crow that I just released. That one was also a junior. So there's a range of a few months. So like that little owl I just showed you, this one might just be the youngest, or maybe they had a really big batch of juveniles this year, that those parents, and maybe this guy just didn't get as much food. Just hard to tell sometimes. Maybe got booted out. The siblings will, if there's a lot of siblings in a nest and they're fighting for a parent's attention, to get food, it is really common for them, just go kind of, you're out of here. Like I bet a lot of us wish we could have done to some of our brothers and sisters too, but
he's great. He is just great. I didn't know you had a crow today. That's wonderful.
I didn't either until last night, so there you go.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the ones that you have been coming in have been these little nestlings, and I see that you keep them in little like warming baskets that look like little hand crocheted little baskets.
Yeah, actually I brought it. I don't know why I brought these in. I thought people might be interested, but yeah.
Yes. I know we have one knitter
on
the call today.
Hi,
Charlene.
Knitting from crocheting. I seriously don't know.
Do you make these?
Oh my God, I have no talent.
Oh, they're given to you. Okay.
You know what I do? I wash these. I'm really good at throwing these in the laundry. But what's nice, yeah, these are nice for all sorts of nestings. I have hummingbird size from people who've made these. And they're nice because I can roll down the sides. If I had two hands here, I could roll down the sides. So, make the nest the right size for the right baby. Why are you looking at this? This is not
Says that looks like a nice home. Do you have any hummingbirds this year?
I got like two, but they were injured adults and they passed.
I'm so sorry.
And then I get calls. There's very few bird rehabbers in our region. There's several of us here in Ulster County. There's nobody in the surrounding counties. There's just nobody. So I get calls all the time from all these other counties. And sometimes, and several of the calls were about hummingbirds. And I don't always know what the end of the story is. If somebody has to be willing to drive them to me, because it could be an hour away. Sometimes I tell them what to do to keep a bird, whatever bird it is, overnight, and contact me first thing in the morning so we can make arrangements for pickup or transportation. But thank God for text messages, because I can also just explain what to do when people have something like a hummingbird. Let's say a common call I get is a hummingbird like trapped accidentally in their garage or their shed, and they can't reach it. It's too high up. It's they don't know what to do, and so that's nice because I can talk to them or text them and explain what to do without having to personally do it. And in that case, if anyone wants to know, you go to a dollar store, you buy a couple of those butterfly nets that are on a bamboo stick. if it's not long enough to reach the hummingbird, tape another stick on it, or another, duct tape it to something longer. And then you've got this very lightweight net. You can get up in the corners, you catch the hummingbird. It's so easy. And all you got to do is very carefully pull spider webs off of the hummingbird. That's a common thing that can be they can't fly, or they won't be able to get away from wild animals if they can't fly, obviously, or they can't eat. So you just have to carefully pull spider webs off their legs and their wings, and then just let them go outside. There you go. And I didn't have to do anything.
Even better.
I like that.
Even better. Well, I can speak from firsthand. It was last summer when I first met Annie, I found an injured red-tailed hawk on the road, and it was just walking like a drunken man, and I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah.
But it was, unfortunately, my husband was able to find you, but we were, I guess it brought out the maternal instinct in both myself and my husband. We were so concerned for this hawk. Does it need water? What does it need?
Yeah.
And it was really distressed, and its mouth was constantly open. It looked like it was trying to say something, but that's just what they do, right?
That's a sign of stress or shock. Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes thirst, but it's almost always stress and shock. Just from the fact that we're humans and we are danger. We are a danger, a threat to every wild thing out there. Just because we exist, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So that, yeah, and adult birds or these baby birds, they automatically will go into stress mode. If they can't escape you, they will go into stress mode and open their beaks and fluff up their feathers, and they look bigger, or shriek, just anything at all to get away from us. They don't understand. A lot of people call me and say, oh yeah, I had a connection with that crow or with that whatever bird it was, and I held it in my lap for an hour, and I knew it knew that I was trying to happen. No, handling wildlife stresses them out and doesn't help their healing process or lower their blood pressure or anything. And another thing that a lot of people do that, see here, I'm just on my ranting mode here. Another thing a lot of people do, just because a lot of us are raised to do this, is if you find an injured or orphaned bird or rabbit or squirrel or something, after you catch it, you pour water in its mouth, right? Like that's what you're supposed to do. No, that's like
Or water on it?
In their mouth. Like
in their mouth.
You give them water. You put it. You take a syringe and you put it in their mouth. The problem is, especially with birds, they don't. Their trachea is right at the base of their tongue. He's not going to let me show you. He's just going to bite me. But so that's where their air goes in, right? Not what. But they have no way to cough up something that went down their trachea. You know how if you
yes,
water,
like aspirating, like when we aspirate.
They aspirate liquids really fast, and they can't cough it out like humans can, like mammals can. And if they survive that, then they often get birds with like pneumonia or some other issue besides their original issue. So yeah, no water. That's right. The only thing possible, if it's super hot out and the bird is clearly hot and it's been in the sun, and it's you can mist most birds with a plant mister, very light bit of mist on their face and just to cool them off, and it feels good on their eyes too, but not like more than once or twice, and then just leave it be. I know, and you had to poop on me too, didn't you?
Bonus.
I think
bonus.
I think I may have showed you all my birdies.
That's okay. We're going to go to one more video, Jacob.
I'm
If you have,
Ming out then too, because
sure, that'd be great. Jacob, if you could show another video of a release, that would be wonderful. Thank you. This is an Eastern Phoebe. They have a beautiful call. Phoebe.
Yeah.
Oh, here comes Ming. Jacob, if you could show the last release too that you have ready, that would be great. While she gets Ming ready.
Good boy. I have no idea what you just said.
That's okay. We're showing a release of a red-tailed hawk, I believe. Yeah.
That's the same one. That was the adult. And
Oh,
I
okay.
At the same time, I released two juvenile red tails. And they went right after that guy.
It's like graduation day.
And they were not connected. They were from 3 separate, you know, locations and families,
Interesting.
but it's, you know, I will often put healthy juvenile birds in with the same species if I have an adult. Like right now I have, I have 2 adult red tails and 1 juvenile red tail all out in the same building. And they're all still they're dealing with, like, you know, healing up from a broken wing, and the juvie's still learning how to hunt. But it makes a big difference to have a surrogate parent. They're not feeding it, but they're just showing them the ropes. Like, you know, you do not climb on the top of an adult red tail, buddy, like that kind of stuff. Some manners, you know, just like you know, puppies with adult dogs, they do a whole lot better if they have surrogate parents or adults that are showing them the ropes, you know. Right, Debbie?
Wow. His heart is beating so fast.
He's all upset. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He's just all like, what is it?
He's really such a showman. He's a wonderful bird.
He's, you know, part of it is he doesn't get to hear baby songbirds. He doesn't hear songbirds much, obviously, and that's what they hunt.
He's excited.
Like, where are they?
So he's a male. How different would the female look from him?
For one thing, the female raptors of all species are about 1/3 bigger, like in size and in weight, than the males.
Interesting.
And female raptors are also generally much harder to handle. Like if I wanted to have them as another female as an education bird, a female peregrine would be just incredibly difficult to train or calm down, to get on my glove, as we say, than Ming. Ming is not a normal, you should know, Ming is not like a normal peregrine anyhow. I mean, he's a male, which made it easier for him to transition to being in captivity. But the female peregrines would just about just take my face off basically every single time they had a chance. That's, you know, they're one of the and that's the same for most female species. Like I have a female great horned owl. I was told that it was probably a male, but they haven't done, the people I got it from haven't done blood work, DNA testing. So when they're juveniles, you really can't tell by just looking at them that they're a male or female. And turns out the great horn I have is a female. She's huge, and they are harder to handle. They just are. They're bigger, badder, meaner, and I guess that is there's reasons for that out in the wild, right?
Yes.
The theory is generally that if there's some issue with predators or weather or whatever it is, you know, if there's snow falls on a nest that of babies, that the females supposedly will stick around, and the males may take a vacation, or, you know, so if it's all kind of speculation, to tell you the truth, but I do know that in handling raptors, the females, whether they're wild or they're one of my education birds, they're tougher. You've got to be on your game. You don't turn your back. You don't turn your head. You know, even though like he won't like dive down and randomly attack top of my head, but
God.
No, you know, even these, I've had captives, even these little screech owls will occasionally take a dive bomb at me, because why not, right? And I mean, Meng is good. He's imprinted on me, so he's mainly when he's vocal and chatty like this, it's because he is bored or he wants food. He's like, you know.
Well, what do the different color bands on his feet mean?
Well, he was hatched, born under the Mid-Hudson, the Poughkeepsie Bridge 5 years ago, and the DEC has he's actually still endangered. Peregrine falcons are still endangered. The goal is to get them back to like World War II or pre-World War II numbers. And as most of you probably know, DDT was the reason that bald eagles, peregrine falcons, and basically all of the raptors were in steep decline after World War II, because DDT was widely used as an insecticide for, human crops, apples, etc. It was also used as an insecticide for soldiers who were in the trenches in the war, and he had lice or mites. You just dusted yourself with DDT, right? but it makes their eggshells thin, so it doesn't kill these
Got
guys,
it.
but it collects in their system and it makes their shells too thin. So any of these species, when they sat on their eggs to incubate them, they cracked eggs don't hatch. And then finally in 1973, I think it is, the federal government, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the scientists, falconers, biologists, etc., pinpointed that DDT was the primary reason that these falcons were all and eagles were disappearing. And so DDT has been banned since 1973. Right?
Good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So I can't believe we're almost at the end of this hour. It has gone so fast. Ming, you are just sensational. Annie, I could never thank you enough for what you do, let alone this hour.
He knows his name, so he's like,
Ming, you're so studly. If any of you listening and watching want to know more about Annie, you can find her on Facebook, Wild Mountain Birds. Like her page, she'll likely like you back, and then you can see more of her amazing work. Susan, did you have a question?
Just one. I wonder if you ever come across vultures.
Oh, good question.
well, so for one thing, I don't like get birds by just looking for them, right? People.
Oh, no, but I mean, if somebody brings one to you or something.
Yeah, I take vultures. Yeah, black vultures and turkey vultures are up here.
Yeah, those are the ones. Are they they're sort of interesting birds. They're
very smart, for one thing.
Okay. I just wonder what the dancing is.
The dancing.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. I mean, they're scavengers. So of all the bird species in New York State, most have no sense of smell to even bother mentioning, but vultures do, which makes sense because they can smell carrion dead stuff a mile away or further.
Okay.
But a lot of birds, so I say that because you can pick up like baby robins and put them back in the nest, or pick up a baby bird and put it off the road. And nobody's going to reject it because nobody can smell anything, right? But vultures will be very protective of their food, of whatever the dead thing is that they're eating.
Okay, that's what.
That might be what it is. And they're also like social. There's like a social.
That's it. Thank you. Yes.
They'll like beat off the older ones get to eat first. The younger ones better,
right.
Off, or they're gonna.
Thank you. It's just an interesting spectacle when one comes across it on the side of the road sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah. Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
You're welcome.
So Annie, we're going to want to have you back again. So we really appreciate your being here. Thank you for what you do and for showing us these beautiful birds today. We really appreciate you. And thanks everybody.
You can look at my Facebook page. You don't have to like it. You can if you want to, but it's open to the public. Anyone can look at what I got on there.
Every day something new from Annie, just about.
Some of my friends tell me I post too much, so
Not at all. Keep going. Thank you, Annie.
You're welcome.